In the world of life insurance, companies like Future Guard must plan ahead to fulfill their promises to policyholders. By managing gross premium or benefit reserves, expense reserves, and using the retrospective reserves approach, they ensure they always have the resources to meet their long term obligations, no matter what changes come their way. Let's see how this works in action with a story about one of our policyholders, Romeo. Meet Romeo, a 35-year-old man who bought a whole life insurance policy from FutureGuard with a 1 million peso death benefit. To fulfill this promise, FutureGuard uses three key strategies: gross premium or benefit reserves, expense reserves, and the retrospective reserve approach. For gross premium or benefit reserves, Romeo pays 6,000 pesos annually in premiums. FutureGuard sets aside a portion of these premiums into gross premium reserves to ensure the company can pay the 1 million peso death benefit to Romeo's family even many years from now. For expense reserves, to cover operational costs like administration and customer support, FutureGuard sets aside 700 pesos from Romeo's premiums each year into expense reserves. This ensures the company can manage the policy efficiently without affecting the death benefit. And for retrospective reserve approach, over time, FutureGuard reviews actual results and adjusts its reserves. If mortality rates are lower or costs are higher than expected, they make adjustments to ensure enough funds are set aside to meet Romeo's future obligations.
Let's begin with the gross premium benefit reserve, which we denote as this equation. This is simply the policy value at time t, and we can read this as the gross reserve at time t. It's what we need to calculate to see if the policy is sufficiently funded or if the premium are enough to cover all future benefits and expenses, which is generalization of the policy values at any time t greater than or equal to 0. Now, the reserve at time t is expected the value of this future loss given that the insured is still alive. We express this as this equation. So, the gross reserve at time t equals the expected value of the gross future loss at time t given that the insured is still alive at time t. To understand the equation for the gross reserve, let's proceed to the Curtate future lifetime, often denoted as K sub x. This is the number of full years as a person age x expected to live, which is key in all.
It is essential to understand that the future benefits and premiums are dependent on the Curtate future lifetime of the insured. The Curtate future lifetime is the number of complete years lived after a certain time. We express it in this equation. The gross premium or the benefits reserves at time k is equal to the conditional expectation of the gross future loss at time t given that the insured's Curtate future lifetime is greater than or equal to k. Gross future loss. We calculate these reserves by looking at what we call gross future loss at time t, which we denote as this equation TL raised to g. The formula of this present value of the future benefits and expenses at time t minus the present value of the remaining premiums. Equivalence principle. The equivalence principle is not always applied when calculating the gross premium that are derived from the expected loss at issue. Either way, we represent it with G. Under the equivalence principle, we define E multiplied by L sub L0 raised to G is equals to 0. With the formula of APB benefits and expenses, it is equals to the APB premiums. So this implies that the present value of premiums collected should equal.
Next, we will discuss the important actuarial concepts related to reserves. Reserve basis, premium basis, negative reserves, expense reserves, and the deferred acquisition cost or DAC. First, the reserve basis. It refers to the assumptions such as mortality rates, interest rates, and expense. It is used to calculate the gross premium or benefit reserves at any given time. Next, we have the premium basis. This consists of assumptions used for premium calculations. Ideally, the reserve basis and the premium basis should match, but in some cases, they may differ due to practical considerations. Next, we have the negative reserves. It often occurs in early years of the policy when the acquisition expenses are high. Since premiums are usually level, the reserve may appear negative before stabilizing in the later years. Next, we have the expense reserve. It is set aside to cover the future administrative or and operational costs, ensuring that the insurer can meet the obligations over time. Finally, we have the deferred acquisition cost or the DAC. It allows the insurers to spread out the high initial cost of the acquiring policies such as commission and underwriting expenses over the policy's duration and making financial reporting more stable. So for example, 7.13, we are given to analyze a fully discrete 10-pay whole life policy with a sum insured of 100,000 for a life age 45. So we are given here mortality assumptions, discount rates, and expense details. And we need to compute for the gross premium and the gross premium reserve at time 5, at year 5 rather. First, we have to determine the gross premium G using the equivalence principle. The present value of premiums must be equal to the present value of the benefits and expenses. So, expenses are structured at 50% for the first year plus 2,000. And then we have 10% premium plus 200 to the subsequent years. So, we substitute the values to the formula, solving for G, and we will get the approximate is 50,050.85 or 5,050.847458. And then the next step is we need to calculate the gross premium reserve at year 5, which accounts for the present value of the future benefits minus the present value of the future premiums adjusted for the expenses. Then we will just substitute it using the formula and the given. So we will have 100,000 times A50, which is 0.28, plus 0.1 times G, which is 5,050.847458, times the A double dot 50 angle 5, which is 4, plus 200 times A double dot 50, which is just that 1 minus 0.28 all over 0.05, minus G, which is 5,050.847458, times A double dot 50 angle 5, which is 4, and we will have approximately 12,696.94915 or 12,696.95.
The next actuarial concept that we will discuss is the retrospective reserve approach. A retrospective reserve at time t is the accumulated value of all premiums paid up to time t minus the accumulated value of any benefits already paid out by time t. Essentially, we look backwards at what has actually happened rather than forward at what may happen. Here are some key concepts for retrospective reserve. Common expression is TV equals AV of premiums received up to T minus AV of benefits paid up to T. For fully discrete whole life policies, premiums and benefits are paid in discrete yearly intervals, where P multiplied by A double dot X angle T is the APV at issue of the premiums through time T. Capital AX angle T is the APV at issue of term insurance through time T, and the difference is accumulated to time T by dividing it by TEX. For annuities too, the payment at time T is not included in the accumulated value, while for the annuities immediate, it is included. The accumulated value of premiums minus the accumulated cost of insurance at time t can be seen in this formula. Note that the retrospective reserve calculations are often simpler than prospective calculations for deferred plans during the period when no benefits are paid. In that case, there are no payouts, so the reserve is just accumulated premiums. For example, 7.17, given the following, we need to calculate for the expected value of the net future loss at time t. First, we need to calculate for the benefit premium using this formula. 1000 A45 plus 1020 deferred A45 equals P A double dot 45 angle 20 plus 2P multiplied by the quantity of A double dot 45 minus A double dot 45 angle 20. As stated here, the computed value of A double dot is 18.2. Next is the computed value of 20 deferred A45, which is equal to 0.25, and A double dot 45 angle 20 is equal to 11.7. By substituting all the value, we get the benefit premium of 22.2672065. Next step is to calculate for the benefit reserve, which is 20V equals P multiplied by the quantity of A double dot 45 angle 20 over capital A 45 angle 20.
minus 1,000 multiplied by the accumulated cost of insurance, and by substituting all the values, we get the final answer, which is 421.0526. In conclusion, the concepts of gross premium, benefit reserves, expense reserves, and the retrospective reserve approach play a vital role in ensuring that insurance companies remain financially stable while fulfilling their promises to policyholders. By carefully managing reserves and using both prospective and retrospective approaches, insurers can confidently navigate uncertainties and uphold their commitments. These actuarial principles not only safeguard policyholders but also maintain the long term sustainability of the insurance industry. Thank you for your time, and we hope this presentation has provided valuable insights into the importance of reserve in insurance.